Italian Football Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Questions from the Italian Football Podcast Patrons, where you, our patrons, decide what the show is about by simply sending in your questions via DM on Patreon. I'm joined, as always, by Carlo Garganese. So let's start with the first question, which has been sent in from CJ Barile. And he says, can Nima explain why Inter fans once threw a scooter off the top stands at the San Siro? Yeah, this is a interesting anecdote, which I think everyone remembers. It was this, I remember it because I just moved back from Italy. I was in Italy the first part of that season, and it was a horrible season for Inter. This event took place on the 6th of May 2001. It was Inter-Atalanta at the San Siro. Inter were 3-0 up with about 15 minutes left to play. Vieri scored a brace. I think one of those goals was his 100th Serie A goal. Recoba scored another, but no one was talking about that because a burning moped was thrown from the top stands, and this image of this moped burning and just being thrown up and just running down to the empty stand, just falling over, whilst burning is an image that never dies. In everyone's, it's very tragicomica, as they've described it a lot in Italian media. But yeah, it was basically the reason why that happened is there's lots of reasons why that happened. But basically, it's that the Atalanta Ultras and the Inter Ultras, they have a history that goes back to 1972, in December 72, when a group of Atalanta fans tried to essentially topple the car of Mario Corso and Roberto Boninsegna. And then since then, there's been this huge rivalry between Inter Ultras and Atalanta Ultras. There's many reasons for this, but one of them that is considered the most believable is that about 6,000 Atalanta fans arrived at the San Siro with their mopeds, and they had decided to meet up with the Inter Ultras for a fight, and the police managed to kind of stop this collision between the two fans, but one or two of these scooters had remained, and so Inter took the one that belonged to the Capo Ultra, the leader of the Atalanta Ultras, to show it off as a trophy. One other says that one other theory is that because these ultras they love to take each other's banners and flags and wave it as trophies, and that this was one of those instances. Another version is that I've not been able to verify, but I remember at the time, was that Atalanta fans before the game tried to attack the bus with the Inter players, but then the Inter fans stopped them and were able to block one of the Atalanta fans who were attacking them, and he just ran away, abandoning his booster moped, which is the brand that this was. And yeah, so then Inter fans brought this up to the stand. 4 people were banned for life, I think, from the San Siro as a result of this.
No one got hurt.
I remember this because one of the reasons I remember it, because that was a season where Inter fans were really, there was talk of extra heightened security at the San Siro. Clearly, if you manage to smuggle a moped up the 3 tiers, the 2 tiers of the San Siro,
and that is,
and then throwing it down whilst it was burning. So yeah,
no one got hurt.
No one got hurt. No, they dumped it into the empty part of the San Siro because it wasn't packed back then. That game, so no one got hurt. No, it was empty burning moped.
Insane. Only in Italy.
And again, this is one of those things where like I said, they were speaking about heightened security because of the many instances that had happened that season, and this was supposed to be a high-risk game. And clearly there was heightened security because, easy to smuggle up a moped up to the second tier of the Sun Siro and then light it on fire and throw it down.
Mad.
The image of this, I remember watching this, like the moped just,
Yeah, it's iconic.
Rolling over,
It's
burning.
up there with the Rui Costa and Materazzi with the burning fireworks in the distance.
Yeah, and it's like how did it come up? Well, the reason that how did you manage to bring this up? And according to Corriere della Sera, they say there's a really, really easy answer to that, and that is that in the last 15 minutes of the match, the gates were open for people to be able to leave and come in, and so that's when they brought it up, because this happened towards the end of the game. And they drove it up these ramps, whenever you see people, this optic illusion of people walking down. So they have these ramps, so they drove it up there. But yeah, that happened.
Mad, absolutely mad,
mental, absolutely mental. But yeah, it's only in Italy, only in Italy. Next question, Jamie Drum says, hi guys, do you think with the draw for the World Cup being done on Friday, that with Italy knowing their potential opponents before even qualifying will have any impact on their motivation heading into the playoffs, whether that can be an easy or tough draw? Also, which would be your nightmare and dream draws for Italy on Friday based on the pots?
Okay, well, let's do a preview of the World Cup draw. So the draw is on Friday. The main World Cup 2026 draw. So the playoff draw obviously has already been done. Now this is the actual draw for the tournament, even though a number of teams still haven't qualified, including Italy. They're still doing the draw. So another reason why the whole format is just ridiculous. But here we are. So the draw will take place at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. on Friday at 6 p.m. CET, that's 5 p.m. GMT UK time, 12 p.m. EST. And Donald Trump, the US president, is expected to be in attendance for the draw. I'm sure he will be. I'm sure he will be. So how will the World Cup draw work? Well, there's 48 nations, or there will be 48 nations, who will be divided into 12 groups containing 4 teams each. And there will be 1 team for each group from the 4 draw pots. Now, pot 1 will contain the 3 host nations, that's the United States, Canada, and Mexico, plus the 9 top countries in the FIFA World Rankings that have already qualified for the tournament. Mexico have already been assigned to Group A, Canada to Group B, and United States to Group D. Now, pots 2, pots 3, and pots 4 will contain the next 12 best ranked sides, again, providing they have already qualified, which Italy haven't. So that basically the groups will, this is so the groups will be balanced and the kind of like the best teams are kept separate from each other as much as possible until the knockout rounds. Teams from the same confederation will be separated in the group stage, except for Europe, because of the number of teams from Europe. So no group will have more than 2 European nations. Let's go through the pots now, the 4 pots. So 42 of the 48 teams have already qualified to the World Cup. So as I mentioned before, pot 1 has the 3 hosts, and they've already been assigned to their groups, plus the next 9 highest ranking teams. Now, FIFA has confirmed that the remaining 6 qualifiers that still need to qualify via the playoffs, which includes Italy. Now, those are 4 European teams via the European playoffs and 2 versus via the interconfederation playoffs. Those games not played until the new year in March. Now, those teams that qualify from those playoffs will be automatically put into pot 4. So that means that Italy will not be seeded. They will be in pot 4 for this draw. So what I'll do now is, and there should be some graphics to accompany this, I'm going to read through the pots. So pot 1, these are the teams in pot 1. Mexico, Canada, United States as co-hosts, and then Spain, Argentina, France, England, Brazil, Portugal, Netherlands, Belgium, and Germany as the top-ranked nations who have already qualified. So that's pot 1. Now, pot 2 is done on the FIFA World Ranking. So the teams in pot 2 are Croatia, Morocco, Colombia, Uruguay, Switzerland, Japan, Senegal, Iran, South Korea, Ecuador, Austria, and Australia. And then pot 3, Norway, Panama, Egypt, Algeria, Scotland, Paraguay, Tunisia, Ivory Coast, Uzbekistan, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and South Africa. And then pot 4 are Jordan, Cape Verde, Ghana. I'm going to pronounce it. Can you tell me the correct pronunciation of this?
Curacao, I think it is.
Curacao. Okay.
I think Curacao, yeah.
Yeah. Haiti, New Zealand, as the already qualified teams. Then, as I said already, 6 playoff winners, 4 from Europe, which are Wales, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Italy, or Northern Ireland. 1 from those. 1 from Ukraine, Sweden, Poland, Albania. 1 from Slovakia, Kosovo, Turkey, or Romania. 1 from Czech Republic, Republic of Ireland, Denmark, North Macedonia. And then from the intercontinental playoffs, 1 from Bolivia, Suriname, or Iraq. And also 1 from Jamaica, New Caledonia, or the Democratic Republic of Congo. So those are the pots. I think this is a good time now to look at what could be a possible dream draw for Italy. Now, dream draw, I would say for Italy, from pot 1, Canada or Belgium. From pot 2, Australia or, Iran. Pot 3, Panama, Uzbekistan, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, or South Africa. That's who I have. Who would you have as your group of life?
For Italy.
For Italy.
I think we should also remember that they're because of the fact that there's 16 teams in from Europe, there's a maximum of I think 2, or is it guaranteed 1 European, minimum 1 European team per group? I think I read somewhere. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
So there's a maximum of 2 European. So, but what that means is also that Asia and Africa and South America, they can't have more than 1 team. Like those others, they can only be 1 team per other confederation. Yeah. So I think we have to note that. So that means that Italy will definitely have another, if they make it, they'll have another European side in their group. So, well, if I'm looking at the other pot, it's from pot 2, nightmare would be Croatia, Switzerland. I'm not too fussed. Austria, maybe so-and-so. Norway and Scotland, I don't think Italy would love to avoid both of those. And in pot 1, every single European side except for Belgium.
Yeah.
So I think for me, from pot one, Belgium is a decent draw. I think Italy can see them off. Canada, yeah, but you'd be playing them away or in their home or in Canada. There's a lot, so that would be good for Italy because there's a huge Italian community there, especially on the East Coast, in Toronto, in Woodbridge, which is like one of those few little Italies that are left. So that would be cool if Canada played Italy. And the same thing. I mean, if it's in America, there's lots of Italians in it all over America. So yeah, so I'd from pot one, I'd probably say Canada, USA, or Belgium. That one of those would be the good for Italy. In pot two, I'd say Australia. I'm not too impressed by Australia.
No.
Iran are a mess. They're coached by someone who is essentially just an uncle. Someone's uncle got the job, whose football analysis stretches to saying things like, "Oh, well, that's football. What are you going to do about it?" Like that's literally his football analysis. So yeah, I mean, Australia, Japan are a good side. We've seen them do. They always do well. You want to avoid Croatia. You want to avoid Morocco. Uruguay are not easy. So those teams are the ones you want to avoid. In pot three, I think Italy would like to avoid Norway and Scotland like the plague. Yeah, it's a bit. I don't know. For me, it's a question of who you want to avoid, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I would say dream draw because you've rightfully said that we have to have one European.
Yeah.
My dream draw is Belgium, Australia, Panama. Yeah, that's the draw. We're in pot four. Yeah. Nightmare draw, group of death for me would be Spain, Morocco.
Oof.
We can't have another European team. Actually,
Ivory Coast. Maybe probably Algeria are no easy.
Senegal in pot three because Senegal are good. Oh no, they're pot two.
Oh, they're in pot two.
They're pot two. So I would probably say, oh gosh,
nightmare draw for Italy.
You know what? Because I would say then let's put Argentina then. Let's say Argentina. Then I would say a nightmare draw because we can only have one other European team would be Argentina, Morocco, Norway.
That would be horrible. That would be absolutely horrible. And Scotland are not easy either. I think with the number of Serie A players in Scotland, and I think Italy would like to avoid them. And the Serie A MVP Scott McTominay as well. Like he's playing the football of his life. I think Italy would want to avoid them like the plague.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. But of course, we have to get there first. So the teams that are in the playoffs, as I said, the final six spots at the World Cup will be filled by 4 teams from UEFA playoffs and 2 from the Interconfederation playoffs. I can't talk. UEFA playoffs have 16 teams participating, 12 runners-up from the European qualifiers, plus 4 teams who qualified via the UEFA Nations League, like Sweden, who didn't win a single game in the World Cup qualifiers, so somehow in the playoffs. And the fixtures are, for Italy versus Northern Ireland, Wales versus Bosnia-Herzegovina. That's Path A. Path B, Ukraine versus Sweden, Poland v Albania. Path C, Turkey v Romania, Slovakia v Kosovo. Path D, Denmark v North Macedonia and Czech Republic versus Republic of Ireland. And then the finals will be the winners of each of those playing against each other. The semi-finals list playing against each other in each path. The games are taking place 26th of March for the semi-finals, 31st of March for the finals, and then exactly the same for the Inter-Confederation playoffs. Path A is New Caledonia versus Jamaica. And Path B is Bolivia versus Suriname. Those games are on the 26th of March, and then the finals on the 31st of March as well, which is will be Path A will be the Democratic Republic of Congo versus the winner of New Caledonia or Jamaica. And then Path B will be Iraq versus the winner of Bolivia or Suriname. So on March the 31st, we will know everyone that's in the World Cup. But it's such a weird quirk that there are teams that, and this actually happened to Italy last time as well, because they did the draw for the World Cup before Italy played their playoffs against North Macedonia last time. So we're here where Italy can know, and these other teams in the playoffs know already who they're going to play in the World Cup, but they might actually not make the World Cup. So it's again, bit of a ridiculous format, but there it is.
The most political group of all time would be the United States, Iran, South Africa, and Ukraine.
Yes, that would be quite fun.
That would be the most political group in the history of the World Cup.
I kind of want that to happen just because if Trump is at the draw and I don't know. Knowing Trump, he'll probably do the draw himself.
This is what I was going to say. I hope that FIFA have understood the comic value of having Donald Trump read out the names of the countries and drawing it. This should essentially be an hour long of Donald Trump running around opening balls. That's all it should be. I want him to just go. I want him to open up every single ball. I want him to pronounce the names of every single country. I want that. I need this to happen. I need him to open up a ball and say things like Curacao. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I need him to do that.
Iran, we'll just ban them. We'll just throw them out.
And then making, say something. Yeah, like he needs to do that.
Iran, if they don't stop their nuclear project, they can't go.
Going off script. Yeah, exactly. We need him to. I need him to open up every single ball. Like, I want him to open up every single ball.
You know he'll start doing his own thing,
of course he will. That's why I'm counting on that. He's going to ad lib. Like, of course he's going to ad lib.
That draw. Did you see that World Cup? That FA Cup women's FA Cup draw last week, where they got some fucking influencer to do the draw again. Just what the fuck? Why is an influencer doing a draw? Anyway, so she went to pick up one of the balls and then she dropped it. She dropped it back into it, right? And then she went back in and she picked it out again. And like people are saying, like the draw should be void, really, but they just let it go anyway. And like during the draw, she was like ripping Tottenham during it, which is fine. We can allow that, no problem with that. But yeah, she was like, it was the most unprofessional like draw ever. Like it will be like that with Trump. It will be like that, but like, yeah, times 100. You know, Donald Trump has actually done a draw before. This is, I don't know if you've ever seen this.
Isn't it USA 94?
I don't know if he did USA 94, but he did an FA Cup draw, like in about 9. It's on YouTube. You can actually see the video. It's in like 1989 or 1990. He did it with Saint and Greavesy, which was at the time was the biggest, most popular show in England. It's a brilliant, legendary show with Jimmy Greaves, who was hilarious, and Ian St. John. They had a football show together. It was a very, very good show, very funny, great banter on it. And they used to do like the draw. Sometimes they used to do the draw for like the FA Cup or the League Cup. And they went to America to Trump Tower to do the I think it was it the FA Cup or the League Cup? I can't remember, one of the draws. And they did it live on TV with Donald Trump, and Donald Trump was picking out the teams while he was doing it. So he has actually done a draw before.
Well, the greatest of all time is Rod Stewart and the Scottish Cup. When he's drunk, he's hammered. He's hammered, and like that will never stop being funny. Like that is, and the way he just goes in, like it's just comedy, absolute comedy.
Yeah, that would be great.
Go on. Finish off.
No, I was just going to move on. I was going to talk about the World Cup format, how it works.
Go for it.
The top two finishers in each group will qualify automatically for the last 32, along with the 8 best third place teams, which I think is ridiculous. But you know, it's it's what happens when you expand the World Cup to as big as it is. You get a ridiculous situation where teams can qualify in third place. So we're going to be getting teams that are, teams with 2 points are going to go through to the knockouts, which is a bit stupid. And the ranking of third place teams will be determined by points, then goal difference, then I think goals scored, and that's how it works. And then it's as everyone knows from there on in. So that's that.
To answer Jamie's question, I think it's a really interesting question, because if it will have an impact on Italy qualifying, because I think it does. I think if Italy were to get a really tough nightmare draw, a group of death, I think that impacts Italy, how they go into March. I'm sorry, but I think it does. Really? I think Jamie's onto something. Yeah, I think it does.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, I can just speak for myself. I'm kind of not really that excited or that interested about the draw so much. I mean, I'll follow it, of course, but for me, it's like I can't really look forward to the World Cup at all until we're there. I can't even think about the World Cup until we play those playoffs. So I don't think that I personally don't think it will have much of an impact. To be honest. I mean, there's enough pressure on that team already. We can't put more pressure on them by saying, "Oh, look, you're going to play against Spain."
No, we can't. But whether or not it will have an impact, I think it will. I think if they're given an easy draw, I think they'll see their chance to motivate themselves to do better.
That might be a bad thing if they get an easy draw. They might be thinking, "Oh, yeah, if we get there now, we're going to do really well," and then take their eye off the ball. If they get a hard draw, they might go the other way. They might think, "Oh, right, we need to really." I don't know.
We'll see.
Anyway, the World Cup starts on the June the 11th. June the 11th is when it starts. The final is on July the 19th.
And it's 104 matches in 5-6 weeks.
Which is a record.
Yeah. Right. Next question comes from Gio L. He says, can you tell the story of Luciano Gauci signing Colonel Gaddafi's son, and was he any good? Well, we asked Jay Bothroyd this when we had him on when we interviewed him, didn't we? About Gaddafi's son.
Yeah, he told us some great stories on it. I mean, this is an amazing story. It really is. I mean, Serie A has some incredible stories. This is up there. I mean, just the idea that Colonel Gaddafi's son actually played in Serie A is just insane to start with. I mean, it was 2003, and Perugia's, let's say, wacky owner, Luciano Gauci, who also once tried to sign a female. He also tried to sack a player.
Tried to sign a Swedish female It was Victoria Svensson and Hanna Ljungberg, who at the time were two of the best female footballers in the world. Yeah.
He also tried to sack a player for scoring against Italy.
An Jung-wan, the South Korean.
An Jung-wan, yeah. He also signed Saadi al-Gaddafi. Now, Saadi was 30 years old at the time, and he'd only started playing football. He took up football at the age of 27. He was a Sunday League level player in the Libyan League. Let's be honest. Now, Gauci signed Saadi partly as a publicity stunt, but also due to Colonel Gaddafi's influence. As at the time, Gaddafi's government owned 7.5% of Juventus. Saadi was a member of Juve's board, and Libya's state oil company Tamoil was Juve's sponsor. Now, Saadi only played one game for Perugia as a substitute. Do you want to guess who the team it was?
Of course, it was against Juve.
He was against Juventus. He would also go on, though, to play for Udinese and Sampdoria. Saadi recruited Maradona and Olympic drug cheat Ben Johnson as a private coach. Unsurprisingly, Saadi also failed the drugs test while he was in Italy. But away from being a terrible footballer, Saadi was much loved by his teammates. He would lavish them with expensive gifts. He carried briefcases, or his entourage carried briefcases of cash around with him. he had the Pussycat Dolls perform privately for the Perugia squad for his birthday. And as I think Jay Bothroyd told us when he came onto our pod, like, he was an incredibly generous person who, like, would just buy gifts, take the squad out for dinner, just spend so much money on everyone, and was genuinely really, really well loved by everyone there. So it's an insane story. Just shows that what power and influence can get you. It can literally buy you a football career.
Well, I remember Jay telling us that he wanted to buy everyone a car when he made his debut, and Jay was like, "No, you don't need to be buying everyone a car, mate." Like,
Mercedes, I think it was.
What?
Yeah, I think it was a Mercedes.
Yeah,
I think he wanted to buy everyone a Mercedes. Yeah.
It was, yeah, and he was like, no, they went to Monaco instead on a weekend.
That's right. Yeah. Now, at the age of 27, he went to his dad and said, "Dad, I want to be a footballer." And so Colonel Gaddafi said, "Oh, fine, we'll make that happen." And then they just found him a club in Libya. They made him captain of the Libyan national team, and then used his power and influence and connections to get him a transfer to Serie A. Actually, they tried to get him to play for Juventus, but Juventus rejected and just said, "Look, come on, we can't do that." And probably helped pull some strings elsewhere. I don't know, but yeah, it was just mad, isn't it? I mean, Colonel Gaddafi's son playing in Serie A. I mean,
only in
time to be alive.
Only in Italy. Solo in Italia. Right. Next question comes from Jacob Dunn. He says, "Hi, Carlo. Hope you're well. I was wondering if you remember much of Thierry Henry's time at Juve. What do you think of him at the time, and did you think he would become the player he became at Arsenal?"
I met him when he was at Juventus. I told this story many times. Juventus versus Manchester United, Champions League semi-final, first leg, 1999. And I met the entire Juventus squad. We were at the Juventus team hotel, including Thierry Henry. Thierry Henry was at Juventus at the time, although he didn't play for Juventus in that tie or in the Champions League knockouts because he was cup tied. Juventus signed him mid-season, but he was there with the squad, and I met him. I've actually got a video. I'm going to dig it out one time. I'm going to put it on our socials, and I'm going to show it to everyone. Got a video of me with all the squad and everything, and so he came to Juventus at a very difficult time. They were in a crisis season. Del Piero done his ACL at the start of the season, was out for the season. Lippi resigned midway through the season. Ancelotti came in. The team had some players who were at the end of their Juventus careers, like Deschamps and some others, few aging players in certain areas, and it was in a rebuild. And the team was a bit of a mess. So he came into a very difficult situation. He was put on the left wing, which was kind of where he hadn't quite established himself as a proper centre forward, although he had played there for Monaco. And that's where Juventus played him on the left wing, and he wasn't bad as everyone said he was. He just came in at a really difficult time, and they should have persevered with him.
He was bad at Juve. Those 6 months, it was horrible.
The team was bad. The whole team was bad. It wasn't that he was bad. I remember watching all them. I remember him scoring 2 goals against Lazio in a game, and he was stuck out on the left wing.
Yeah, they played him as a left winger. Yeah,
in a terrible. In a really bad team that given up on the league as well. Like, they were so far out of the league, like they just gave up basically. And they should have. Yeah, I mean, Arsene Wenger got him, and Arsene Wenger had the foresight to play him as a centre. He also started bad at Arsenal, by the way. He had a bad first few months at Arsenal, and then he just exploded.
Yeah, I remember that. Next question. Nick Passaretti says, "What players do you think had careers that should have ended long before they retired? For me, it's Neymar. Too many injuries, and he isn't the player he used to be." I'm sorry, but this Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi thing, I mean, like, what are we doing here? Are they really good enough to be playing for Argentina and Portugal? Really? Both of them?
Well, Messi's still doing pretty well for Argentina, isn't he? Messi's still doing well. I mean, they're Messi fine. Messi's
he walks
still doing it
around literally when he walks on the pitch.
But they're still doing great, though, aren't they? While the team's doing great, you can't argue with it. Ronaldo's a more difficult question because Ronaldo keeps doing well in qualifiers, but then when it gets to the last two tournaments, he's been terrible in those last two tournaments. So Ronaldo, is a bit. I agree, it's a bit ridiculous. Messi, though, I mean, I don't think you can argue with Messi because he's still doing like Argentina are still doing amazing, aren't they? So it's
that Carragher, leave the football before the football leaves you. Like I just if their names weren't Messi and Ronaldo, they would be nowhere near those national teams. I'm sorry, but like Messi at this level, like when he literally just walks, he goes for a stroll on the grass every now and again. Like that's how it feels when he plays football. And with Ronaldo in Saudi, I know he scored a lot of goals, but I mean the level isn't very.
So do you think Messi and Ronaldo should have retired from football altogether by now, or are you talking just national teams?
I'm talking about the national team. I don't care what they do with their lives. That's good for you. Have fun in Miami. Have fun in Saudi. But they have no business in their national teams. They're not doing well enough. Like they neither of them move. Like they're literally standing still. Argentina and Portugal play with 10 men. Like it's ridiculous. Well, they're walking around. Both of them are walking around.
I'll tell you what.
Literally is man walks on.
I'll tell you what. I'm not allowed anywhere near Brazil anymore. The whole of Brazil wants to kill me. I think the whole of Argentina are going to want to kill you after they see this on social, and I'm putting this straight onto our social.
I'm sorry, but
this is going on to socials because I tell you, I'm not allowing you to get the enjoyment of the whole of Brazil wanting to murder me for the last 2 weeks. And now I want the Messi fanboys to go after you. Okay?
Yeah, well, they already hate me, so I don't care. But like literally both of them, it literally is old man and walks on park. That should be the caption when Messi and Ronaldo are on a football pitch. Old man walks in park. Like it's not literally like it's. Like, sure, MLS, Saudi, whatever, they've done great for, the fans there, exciting them and whatnot, but they have no business in their national teams anymore. I'm sorry, they just don't. Like, it doesn't look good. Like, it really doesn't. And if it wasn't for their names and their influence, they would not be in those national teams. Like, Messi, for me, Messi, when he won the World Cup with Argentina.
Yeah,
that was the time to go out. That was it. You'd won the Olympics, you'd won the Copa America, you won the World Cup. You were fantastic in that World Cup. I mean, that was Messi at his. I thought he was unbelievable in that tournament. I think after Maradona, Modric, Zidane, Modric, Messi. After Maradona, those individual performances in those tournaments. Modric in Russia, Zidane in '98, and Messi in 22. Like those individual performances after Maradona, of course, in '86, are some of the best individual performances we've seen in the World Cup.
Scored a lot of penalties as well. But yeah, let's not go there.
Let's not
talk about the penalties. Otherwise the Argentines come after me as well, and I want them to reserve their hate, their anger.
There was nothing. What was wrong with the penalties?
There were none. I mean, 80% of them weren't penalties. That's why.
Oh, stop.
80% of them weren't penalties.
Nah, stop. My favorite was Que mira Bobo when he said that to Weghorst. Like after the Dutch game was unbelievable. The shithousery. That is one of those all-time World Cup classics. What are you looking at, dum-dum? Like, I mean, it's so good. Que mira Bobo. I love it. What are you looking at, dum-dum? That's brilliant. And then also when he scored and did that and like Topo Gigio. Yeah, that was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Loved it. Now that was but I mean before that, the pass that he did for that goal.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Out of this world. But yeah, no. Right, next question. Mo Nesta says, "Hi guys. This time, I got a question following the disaster performance against Norway by Italy. I saw this by Cassano where he said the following: We're at the same level at Bosnia now. We make Bastoni, Barella out to be phenomena. What do you guys think?" Also, after watching Calafiori's performances recently, I'm really happy he chose Arsenal over Juve. He's developing incredibly well. It also makes me wonder if Locatelli had joined Arsenal back in 2021, how different might his career have turned out? Curious to hear your thoughts. Well, let's start with the first question. Bosnia's level.
I mean, I think that's a bit exaggerated.
It's Cassano. Why are we paying attention to what Cassano says?
It's a bit exaggerated, but there's no doubt to say that if we were to play Bosnia, I wouldn't sit here and tell you I'm confident we could beat them. No. Player for player, of course, we're not Bosnia's level. Player for player, we're not. Player for player, we're above Norway's level, but we're above Northern Ireland's level. We're above Wales's level. We're above North Macedonia's level. But as a team. And
there is no team.
We also have some. We certainly also have weaknesses. The bottom level is we're good enough to qualify for the World Cup. There's no doubt about that. Are we good enough to be up there with the best nations, contending it deep into the World Cup? No, we're not. We're way off that level, which is still a crisis for Italian football because we should be on that level. So it's still a crisis. But are we good enough to be at the World Cup? Yes, of course we are. Player for player,
of course we are.
We're still within the top 10 to 15 nations in Europe or in the world. So we should be, but so I think you need to put things into context.
Yeah.
But I agree on Bastoni and Barella. But I've made that point. For me, for Italy, for a number of years now, not good enough for players that are supposed to be the senators, the phenomenons of the team. They haven't performed for Italy. They haven't.
I don't think anyone can disagree with that. But at the same time, I think the issue is that if you have a block of Italian players that play together at Milan or Juve, you also have to bring in a coach that understands them, that has a good relationship with them, and gets the best out of them. I don't think Italy have done that with Spalletti and with Gattuso. So, at this point, they should have hired a coach that plays a back three, that understands how to play a 3-4-2-1 or a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2 or something like that. If you want to build it around them, you should build it around them and not have this situation that we've had for a long time now.
I agree with that. We should have brought back a three manager. But at the same time, I think that the best players are not system players. And I think Bastoni has shown himself to be a system player. He has.
I'm not entirely convinced about that. But
there's no proof to the opposite, to the alternative. A player can a top doesn't mean he's not a top player, but he's a top player in the system. Is that a player that is flexible enough to play in multiple systems? Doesn't matter what the system is, who the manager is, what the situation is, whether you're playing. Those are generally the very, very best players, and Bastoni hasn't proven himself to be. Barella's a different situation. See, Bastoni's always been fantastic for Inter for years. I can never doubt Bastoni for Inter ever. Barella, I've been also a bit unhappy with him. I think he's been up and down even for Inter, and
absolutely.
I know you said that as well. So Barella's a slightly different one. Bastoni's the one that I'm probably most disappointed with because I see him play for Inter, and then I see him for Italy, and it's just like. It's just such a difference. As for Calafiori, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And I think, listen, you can't argue with that. You can't argue with that. And as for Locatelli, who knows? Who knows? I think he's maybe a little bit on the slow side for the Premier League, but sometimes you don't know. You don't know how things could turn out differently, do you?
No, it's a strange one. It's an interesting one, and Italian football is in such a weird place that it's impossible to say anything, really. But yeah, it's a sliding doors moment. What would have happened to Locatelli had he gone to Arsenal? Calafiori, absolutely. It's sad, but it's sad for Italian football. It's an indictment on Italian football as a whole as well. With Tonali at Newcastle, which just depresses the shit out of me.
Now, people are saying that also about the under-17s that got to the quarter semi-finals. People been pointing out how quite a lot of those players are actually playing abroad, and how actually that's a good thing because by Inacio playing for Borussia Dortmund and some of these other players playing for us, they've actually got a chance of developing and getting a chance at those teams. Whereas if they were playing for Italian clubs, and for me that's an indictment.
Yeah, it is.
That is an indictment. That is. But
it's sad.
We actually have to sit here as Italian football fans and as hosts of the biggest Italian football show in the English language, and we have to sit here and almost will our players to move away from Italian football.
Yeah.
I mean, how can we sit down there and do that when we're supposed to be sponsoring Italian football? I mean, that says it all. But I can't argue with it. I have to say, good. No. I don't want Inacio in Italian football. I don't.
No. Ahmed Khaled says, hi both. It was such a bummer when Inter lost to Atletico Madrid because I felt that especially in the second half, Inter had an identity, managed the game well and almost got the win. That Barella chance as an example. Kivu's adventure now has been tested and the sample size has increased. What do you make of it? What's on him versus the brain-dead moments for the players? Example, that goal we conceded in the last minute against Atleti. Additionally, I can still see structural issues and gaps in defense and midfield that quite honestly need an Edgar Davids player that Inter has always lacked. I'm also seeing Inter playing with the same pace, doesn't close shop, and have a good team structure in defense when we want to see off games against Juve and Atleti, like those goals they conceded in those games. What I mean is, an Acerbi for Di Marco sub would have been great and prevented the loss. Bastoni goes as a left wing back and leverage Acerbi in defense and not Luis Enrique. Look, I think it's obvious that those holes, you answered your own question there, if you ask me. I mean, the fact that you have these structural holes in defense and in midfield is a tactical issue. It's not a personnel issue, it's a tactical issue. The fact that the midfield, the fact that you press higher up, and you have the defensive line higher up, that makes you, but you don't have the personnel to play like that, and you insist on doing that, and you do it against the better teams, and you lack maybe that killer instinct in the box. Well, then that opens up for the teams that are in better quality, have better quality, to take advantage of that. So I think you just answered your own question. As for the football itself, there are minor differences to how he plays and how Inzaghi plays. Inzaghi's much more likes to build more from the sides. Kiva wants to be more central, much more vertical, and play higher up and with a higher intensity. And will at some point when the players start to look tired and those issues remain, what are you going to do? Well, we know what's going to happen. We've based on what we've seen has happened. You lose against the big teams. You don't have a single. You lost to Napoli, you lost to Juve, you lost to Milan, you lost to Atletico Madrid. There's your answer. And it is what it is. But at the same time, he's trying to bring in Diouf. He's trying to bring in Luis Enrique. Diouf has looked somewhat better than Luis Enrique, who is not looking good. He looks scared. And that's a concern. But, you got to give them time. You've bought these players. You've spent that much money on them. What are you going to do?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm laughing at a question that's about to come up, which I know you're going to go mad when you read it. But I'll leave that to, yeah.
What, you mean this one? Peter Yann? Or do you want to have anything to add to that?
The one after.
Okay.
The one after.
Okay. Do you want to what are your thoughts on that?
Nothing else to add. Nothing else to add. Well, I've said it last week that the Inter do seem to be a little bit susceptible on the counter attack. And
yeah. You saw it already against Torino. They won that game 5-0, but there were instances where they were carved open.
They were susceptible against Pisa, but Pisa just had no quality in attack, so could never make anything of it.
Petter Jensen says, hi guys, while it's still too early to judge Vanoli at Fiorentina, what do you make of the signing in general? Does it show lack of ambitions or just lack of alternatives? I think it shows a complete lack of a club with a structure. That you go from Pioli to Vanoli. They should not be in this position. They really shouldn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not. Didn't fill me with much belief and trust that they were going to get out of this.
The fact that Palladino resigned in the manner that he did.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mess in the club now. Prade resigned. It's doesn't seem to be much direction and control in that club at the moment.
And where is Comiso?
Yeah. It's becoming the new Pogba. You have to ask yourself, where is Rocco Comiso in all of this?
Yeah, I mean, he in the beginning he was there every week. He used to talk. He used to do this, that, and the other. Now it's like. Jack Hacken says, Heinema and mouse whacking Carlo. Why is he calling you a mouse whacker?
I don't know.
I've had it with modern penalties. They're giving them for farting on the attacker. Players now do the nonsensical hop, skip, and jump bullshit when taking the penalty instead of just shooting. However, I have a solution. We ban end penalties and bring in penalty corners from hockey, which is far more interesting and fair entertaining. All those stupid MLS penalties from America that Carlo loves. And does Carlo own any motorcycles or mopeds?
No, I don't own any motorcycles or mopeds. No, I don't.
Oh my God, those penalty corners from land hockey. Bloody hell. Yeah, look,
no, he's
I think
right on penalties. Everyone knows my opinion on penalties. I'm not going to say it again. I think they're outdated massively. I think the crime does not fit the punishment with penalties. Simple as that. Simple.
Depends on the situation.
It's like somebody It's like somebody shoplifts and you give them a life sentence. That's the equivalent in football for penalties.
I think it depends on the situation. I think we can't just remove penalties, but we also can't when there's no goal scoring opportunity at the edge and players are moving away, etc. I think that's like the punishment doesn't fit the crime kind of thing. Next question, Marco Maganucco says, Ciao Mancalo, I'm writing this mid-Pisa Inter game, and as you guys mentioned, this team clearly needs to shake things up. If Simeone were to be appointed this summer, who would you sell by and how would you line up in a 4-4-2? Well, first of all, he needs to play a 4-4-2. Or if he wants to continue with a back three, then it has to be a complete. I'm not so sure that he knows how to play a back three. I've not been convinced by Simeone at Atletico playing a back three, to put it to you that way. But who you would definitely need to bring in more physical midfielders. That's for damn sure. And I'm not too worried about the attack. I think Bonni, Thuram, Lautaro, Esposito are Simeone players. Yeah, sorted. I do have question marks. You don't have a full back. That you don't have any wingers. You don't have a full back. You know, I think
doesn't always play out. He doesn't necessarily always play like out and out wingers, does he? So like even like someone like Di Marco is a left midfielder could potentially do that role. You'd need a right midfielder for sure, and I suppose you could play Augusto a left back, I guess. Could you play Dumfries at right back in a 4? Maybe you could, but maybe not. And then you have the Bastoni question at centre back. So
I think that would be all right because I think he'd play deeper. I think Inter would play much more deeper.
Yeah.
And I think that would give Bastoni time, and it would be a much more collected Inter defense. So I think that could work. I think Lautaro would explode even more because I think Simeone has wanted to work with him for almost a decade now. Yeah. So I think they would really hit it off. Next question. Luciano Di Tommaso says, Ciao ragazzi, thanks for all the continued work on the pod. I've got a question. Have either of your opinions of Gabbia changed after the start of the season? He's been very solid in the center of a back three, and this is his first season with a good defensive manager in charge. Also, Rabiot has to be the signing of the season up to this point. He just completes the starting 11 so well, and in the 7 games he's played for Milan, they've only given up one goal, a penalty to Napoli. That includes games against Inter, Napoli, Lazio, Bologna, and Juve. The games Rabiot hasn't played, Milan are 3-3-1.
Wow. Those numbers, I mean, I spoke about him on Monday.
Yeah.
About how he could potentially be the signing of the season. Yeah. And
that's a really good point.
Well, those numbers are incredible. I mean,
and we did discuss it on Monday. So
but those numbers, though, 1 goal conceded in 7 games, and that's a penalty. Wow.
Mental.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
As for Gabbia, that's an interesting one. What do you make of the Gabbia situation? What do you think of it? Has he impressed you more?
He has impressed me a lot this season. As for the Italy angle, there's 2 things. First of all, again, he's playing in a back three versus back 4. I think he can play in a back 4, and he has played in a back 4. But you're switching over from playing week after week in a back 3, and then all of a sudden back to a back 4. This is a problem that we're going to continue to have if all our teams are just continue to play so many.
Well, then maybe Carlo appoint the manager that plays with a back 3 for the national side. I mean, it's like, ooh.
Or we need to be a little bit more. We need to think about using different formations in Serie A and not just use everybody use the same.
But you
system.
can't control 14 Serie A teams and demand that they all play with a back four. What you can do is apply the national team to the selection pool.
I know you're right. You're right. But I just think if we're looking at the bigger picture of Italian football, what's going to get us out of this mess? Then that's not the solution. We need to we need to be more. We need to think bigger than that. But yes, you're right. What is the solution now? Yes, absolutely. So that's the issue with Gabbia. But then we don't even know what formation Gattuso is going to play for the playoffs, which is a big issue. The whole point of Gattuso between when he took the job till now was he should have got a system that everybody understood. And now, and this is the biggest mistake that he's made, is that we don't even know what a system is. Keeps chopping and changing formation every single game, goes to the back three and gets absolutely smashed with the back three. How the hell can you possibly use a back three after being smashed 4-1? You can't.
When you don't know what to use, it's like, oh.
Yeah, it's the same thing that I criticised Spalletti for when he kept chopping and changing during the Euros. You just create even more confusion for your players. So to answer your question, I don't know because I don't know what system we're going to use. But if you ask me, should we, as I said on Monday, should we just keep using the same players when we've conceded 18 goals in 10 games in 2025? And the problems of the defence has been over two different managers over a number of years now. And this is historically, numerically, the worst defence Italy have ever had, then it's absolute insanity to just continue with the same players just because on paper the names are big. So for that reason, yes, I would at least consider Gabbia.
Yeah, he has to be considered. No one's denying that. But I think it's just, I agree with you about the chopping and changing with Gattuso. It's just insane. It's just, I really don't like today, December 1st. I don't think Italy qualify. Like my feeling is they don't.
No.
What about your feeling that too?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I think if we qualify, it's not because of us. It's because of the opposition being worse than us.
Yeah.
Being awful.
I think Italy beat Northern Ireland, but then Wales in Cardiff with 75,000, like that stadium and the way and I don't know, man. And they're a pacey, high intensity side.
I don't even want to think about it, Nima. I just don't. I'm just.
Next question. William Paganini says, Ciao, Nima and Carlo. My question for the pod is, why does Italy still create world-class goalkeepers compared to other positions? We all know the problems with Italian youth development, but why are Italian goalkeepers still world-class? It seems Italy have every other country beat in terms of depth in goalkeeping positions.
Good question.
I think it's very simple. They've got the best school in developing goalkeepers of any country, in terms of shot stopping, command of area, all that stuff. Where they do lack is the ball playing goalkeeping. They don't have a history of that. Italy doesn't have a established long history of that. But I think when it comes to the actual shot stopping, the traditional Italian school of goalkeeping, it's the best in the world, and it's always been the best in the world. So I think it's that.
I don't know. I don't know specifically the reason, but you can't argue with the fact that we do have the best depth in the goalkeeper position. And actually, while our league is only, 25%, I think it is, Italians that are playing on average every week. And it's only about 33% Italians full stop in Serie A as part of the actual squads. And so, there is actually a lot of Italian goalkeepers in Serie A. Like if you go through the squads, how many of them are Italian of the goalkeepers? So imagine how low the number of Italian players are if you remove the Italian goalkeepers. Like, what's the number? What are we talking about here? If it's 25% with the Italian goalkeepers, what is it without what is it for outfielders? What is someone go and work it out. Somebody that's listening, that's got time on their hands. Work out how many Italians we've got without the Italian, how many outfield Italians we've got. It's probably probably about 18, 17% or something stupid like that. Does that depress you even more?
Insane. Yes, it has depressed the shit out of me. But you're right. David Backrack says, "Hi Nima, thank you. Hi Nima and Carlo, thank you guys for the work you do. Even as a Milan fan, this is my favorite Serie A pod. Thank you very much, David. I really appreciate that. I was wondering what you think Milan should do in terms of their next coach after Allegri. I want to preface this with the fact that I want Allegri to stay for at least another season, if not more. But I do think Milan can't wait to miss out on a top young coach to build a long-term project with. We will surely miss out on Italiano since he will move to a big club after the season, and we should keep Allegri. But do you think Fabregas might stay in Como for one more season? Then Milan could sign Fabregas and build an exciting project around him." That's an interesting question, actually.
I think if you appoint someone like Fabregas, you have to show the whole project of the club. He needs to fit in with that whole identity of the club. And that means having certain types of players. You're not going to bring in Fabregas and then have probably old players, because he wants his players to run and press and play that kind of modern football. You're not going to bring in a Fabregas and have, a target man strike. Well, you could say maybe with Como, then have a striker this season. But you know what I mean? Like, it's got to fit into the identity of the club. Young players, developing players. So whether Milan are that kind of club, I don't know.
It's a good question, but it depends also the manner in which he leaves Como. I mean, if he is in Como and they get to a Champions League spot and he gets to coach them and they somehow manage to, or if they get to Europe and he does well in Europe and in the Serie A and he's able to juggle the two, then I think why not? Why not give him a chance? But like you said, then you have to kind of also marry the project fully to his vision.
That's why it fits so well with Como, because it does fit with him so perfectly.
Exactly. They're all moving in the same direction. And also the pressure. Listen, Como, with all due respect, it's not Milan, it's not Inter, it's not Juve, it's not Roma, it's not Napoli. There is less pressure at Como. Yeah. He can lose and draw a couple of games. You can't do that at these other clubs. All hell breaks loose if you do. You have to be able to withstand that. So there is that aspect of it too. Next question, Paul Oljak says, "Hi guys, question for the pod. Once things go south with Conte and De Laurentiis, could you see a scenario where Fabio Cannavaro comes back to Napoli?" No. I hope not, for Napoli's sake. No. Is he good enough as a coach to coach Napoli? I mean,
no. And I don't think De Laurentiis and Cannavaro ever had a particularly amazing relationship either, because I remember when he was still playing and Cannavaro was virtually begging to come back to Napoli towards the end of his career, when he was leaving Real Madrid, that is, and when he was about 35 maybe, and De Laurentiis was like, "No, I only want young players." That was when De Laurentiis was at his real stubborn kind of, anybody over the age of 30, I'm not signing unless it's on a 1-year contract. Like, that was when he was at his peak De Laurentiis.
And he could pay them like by the minute or something.
Yeah. So ever since then, I don't think they've had an amazing relationship. But other than that, just Cannavaro's not young anymore either. He's like 53 now.
Yeah.
52. So I don't see it.
And if we have a coach and if we have a club that's actually doing well, we want them to do well. Like, we don't want to, we don't have that many clubs in Italy who are doing well, so we'd like them to continue, the ones that are. Jonas S says, "Whenever somebody sticks a microphone in Totti's face, we are regaled with the story of how he turned down Real Madrid and stayed at Roma. And obviously, as a Roma fan, I love him for it. But how do you see things going for Roma had he left in 2004, if I remember correctly? How would Totti's legacy have been today? And would Real Madrid have been more successful at that time and in the following years with him in the squad? I realize this is very difficult to answer, but for me, this is one of the greatest footballing what-ifs. So what do you guys think? Regards, and love the pod. It truly is a highlight of the week for me. Listening to Carlo cry Rube tears and hear Nima wailing about Inter being effed makes my work day so much more enjoyable." I don't know. Totti, but like, it would have. I don't think it's a what if. I think it would have broken my heart if he'd left. Like, the fact that he stayed at Roma is one of the most beautiful things about Italian football, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it would have been amazing to see him at Real Madrid, but also, just having that legacy at Roma something that's eternal, isn't it? So it's.
But would he have done well at Real Madrid? Of course he would.
Of course he would. Yeah. And Real Madrid would have been suited to him as well, because that during the Galactico years they just let the stars. They would have been given a free. How he would have fitted with Zidane in the same team. I mean, that would have been quite interesting. I don't know quite how that would have been workable, to be honest with you, but I'm sure they would have had a lot of fun together with Figo, Zidane, Ronaldo, Totti. I mean, yeah, it would have been pretty amazing, wouldn't it?
Indeed. Next question. Tommo says, there's way too much Ciro Immobile disrespect on this pod. After Carlo's comments last week, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Ciro would have done just fine at a bigger club. His goal record provides he's a natural goal scorer. When he joined Lazio, Inter had Icardi, Juve had Higuain, Napoli had Mertens. Later, Juve signed Ronaldo and Inter had Lukaku, yet Ciro outscored them both in 1920. Season. Lazio were in Europe every season except his first, and he delivered there too. So how can anyone say he didn't do it at a big club when he outscored the star strikers of those big clubs? I reject any Immobile slander. He was part of the Italy Euro winning side too. What more was he supposed to do? Well, since he addressed you personally, you can answer first, and then I'm going to give you my final discussion. As I've said many times, I'm going to say this one more time, then I don't want to talk about it again because it's boring. Because it's one of those things that just keeps coming up. I'm going to say one last time.
Piss off a Lazio fan is to say that Ciro Immobile never did it for a big club. That's the number one way to piss off a Lazio fan. Listen, he completely flopped at Borussia Dortmund
and Sevilla.
The numbers there, and completely flopped at Sevilla as well. And I'm sorry, he flopped for Italy as well. Have a look at the numbers. Look at his goal scoring numbers for Italy. And I'm sorry, he wasn't good at the Euros either. He did decently in the groups, and then after that, I went to 2 of the Italy games. I watched him live. He wasn't good. Did okay, but he wasn't awful, but he wasn't good. Some players are more suited to a certain level of club, and I think Immobile was one of those. You can't doubt his goal scoring record, absolutely amazing, but there has been players like that in the past that have scored incredible number of goals for a certain level of club, but moving up to that slightly higher level, a bigger level, they're not up to it. And I think that's what Ciro Immobile was. Lazio was his level, and he was amazing for them.
I look at this a little bit. I think I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but I look at this a little bit differently. I look at it like this: the type of player and striker he was a little bit unlucky, in the sense that when he was at his best, the number 9 role at the biggest clubs was a completely different role than to the number 9 role that it had been previously. Meaning, I think if he had been born a few years earlier and had his peak during when the number 9 role wasn't this just single number 9 striker with you, where you had to play with your back against the goal and hold up play and all these other things that the Benzemas and the Haalands and the Osimhens and the Lukakus and all these managed to do at the biggest clubs, or play like a false 9 like Sarri had with Mertens and so on, and even Higuain. Higuain wasn't a false 9, but Mertens was. But I view it a little bit differently. I think that had he played earlier, and was he a bit born earlier and had his peak a couple of years earlier, I think he would have played for the biggest clubs, Inter, Milan, or even Juve. I think he was unlucky in the sense that he was more of a traditional goal scorer, and football didn't work like that at the biggest clubs. There was more to the job as a number 9 at those top teams, playing the sole number 9. And I don't think he had those tools in his toolbox. And I also think that he's the kind of player who needed to play off of someone, in the sense that either in a 2-man attack or in a 1 behind him with wide players close to him. I think that's when he would have excelled. And I think the reason why he never did any better than at Lazio is because no other team played like that. Until Simone Inzaghi moved to Inter, then he would have, but by then he was too old. So I think that's kind of my stance on Immobile and why he never did better, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he would have been more suited to a past era where penalty box strikers were better, and well, not better, were more suited to the style of football at the time. And now it's not. Penalty box strikers aren't suited.
Yeah. David says, "Ciao guys. Question for the pod. Bit of a broad question.
Move on to the next one. I'm gonna get I'm gonna put together an answer for this one. So move on to the next question, and then we can come back to it.
Okay.
We'll come back to it at the end. Actually, make this the last question. This question
okay. Fabrizio Perciballi says, "Ciao Nima and Carlo. Fabrizio here from Toronto, Canada. I wanted to start by saying I love your content. Listening to you speak about culture is an absolute joy. I laugh out loud in the car when I hear some of your segments. You both have such an amazing knowledge and outlook, so keep it up." Well, thank you very much, Fabrizio, and welcome to the community. He's one of the many people who've joined in the last couple of weeks. So thank you. I just wanted to add what Carlo was saying about being a child of immigrants. I'm a child of Italian immigrant parents in Canada, and as Carlo mentioned, Canada recently has been involved in more World Cups than Italy, which is completely mind-blowing. My brothers and I have never once considered cheering for them. We've been asked by many why, but it's just not in our hearts. We've been Azzurri fans since childhood, and cheering for another nation just feels like cheating on your wife or girlfriend. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Fabrizio, for the most Italian comment ever. I love it. And thank you so much again for those kind words. I really appreciate it. I really do. And thank you and welcome to the community. Next question, Misak says, this is for Carlo. What are his top 3 favorite Juve teams he's actively watched, as in he followed them throughout the season? Mine would be 11-12. After the years of hopelessness, getting back on top in Serie A was a miracle. 14-15 was extremely mad with the appointment of Max, but he shut me up real good. Didn't want to miss a single game and capped it off with their first Champions League final back after 12 years of absence. 02-03 I was young, but I still remember that Real Madrid game, which is still etched into my memory, and Buffon's miracles in the final. Doesn't mean it's the strongest Juve teams Carlo has watched, but the ones he's enjoyed the most while watching.
Best. So what? The team I've enjoyed the most, or
your
the best?
Top 3 favorite Juve teams that you've watched.
Favorite teams.
Yeah, your favorite. Yeah, you can explain why if you want, but
okay. I would have to say the team of Lippi, of course, but the team that I actually enjoyed and the team that I thought was actually the best as well of that Lippi era was the 96-97 team. Not the team that actually won the Champions League, the team that
afterwards,
that lost to Borussia Dortmund in the final.
Zidane, Del Piero.
That team was insane. The midfield and attack, the defense. Maybe that's where they let themselves down in that final, letting in stupid goals off corners and silly goals. But the actual team was unreal. Deschamps, Zidane. Then up the forward line was insane. Del Piero, Boksic, Vieri, and that team was so good. They destroyed PSG 9-1 or 9-2 on aggregate in the European Super Cup. But that was a time when the Super Cup was treated seriously, and that was a really good PSG team as well. That team was amazing. They played great football as well. Then I think you'd have to have the Juventus team from the 80s that won everything.
I was going to say that team.
That team was incredible.
Trapattoni's Juve is just.
Trapattoni's Juve. They basically had, they had half of the Italy 1982 World Cup winners. The defense, Zoff, Scirer, Gentile, Paolo Rossi in attack, but then they had Michel Platini and Boniek as well, who were just world class players as well. Unbelievable team. Marco Tardelli as well, of course. So those 2 teams for sure. I mean, we're talking of my lifetime.
I have to tell you, the team, I mean, those classic Juve teams are, but I have to say that the one that I actually thought was Conte's first season at Juve was one of those aha moments, like the way that he constructed, the way that Juve played, and how a team is bigger than the sum of its parts. I thought it was unbelievable. I thought that 11-12, I'm with Misak on that. It was just the manner in which they played, the way that they were tactically set up, that midfield, the wide players, even though they had like Vucinic up front, who wasn't really, good enough. They lacked a striker all those years, but the way that midfield was built and set up, and with Pirlo, Vidal, Marchisio, I mean, it was, and then of course the defense, Barzagli, Bonucci, Chiellini, and then Buffon. I mean, I really, that's when I was like this, that's when I kind of fell in love with Conte's football.
Yeah. Yeah.
That to me is one of the most impressive Juve side. Like, it was more Conte more than Juve, I'd say, but yeah, that particular team was just unbelievable, I'd say.
Yeah, spot on.
Luca Capone says, "Hi fellas, Luca here from Toronto. Our city's greatest pub just closed. Rest in peace, the Imperial Pub. So I'm going to throw this idea out there. Nima and Carlo head to Toronto ahead of the World Cup and open up a pub pop-up. Just imagine Nima sitting at the bar crushing darts, nicotine pouches, plus a few cheeky bumps, while Carlo from Bedford holds court discussing the limits of human perception and his all-time starting 11 of pornographic actresses. The name of the pub, you ask? The Fox in the Box. Brilliant. This is brilliant. I couldn't agree more about Inter completely embracing a new identity. I'm tired of seeing mainstays like Lautaro and Barella fail to take their game to another level time and time again. Çalhanoğlu should have been sold a couple of summers ago, while their backline needs a much-needed influx of youth. Sure, I've wanted Simeone to take over a few years, but from a player perspective, which players do you think Inter can potentially target to start this new chapter? Nico Paz, Joshua Zirkzee, Giovanni, Mario Gila, Marco Carnesecchi. What formation would you roll with? I'd love to hear your thoughts. The goalkeeping situation is an interesting one. If you're going to have a goalkeeper that plays with his feet, you can't get Carnesecchi. But if you get someone like Simeone, you go after Carnesecchi, because in terms of a line goalkeeper, he's one of the best out there, I think. And Mario Gila, I really like. But again, it depends on who the coach is. Nico Paz is impossible to get. Zirkzee, I think, is a fantastic player, but again, it depends on who the coach is. I don't think that the problems in attack. I think the defense and the goalkeeper and the midfield, life after Çalhanoğlu. Is it Barella or what it is? I think those are the most interesting debates to be had. To be honest with you.
Yeah, agreed.
Penultimate question. Gianmarco the Modest says, "Hi guys, I just want to clarify that my last name is not Modesto. My nickname is exactly what Carlo speculated. I was playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey set in ancient Greece on PlayStation a few years ago. The mercenaries in the game had hilarious names. Sheila the Pooper, Herpes the Burning Fury, Timotheus the Crazy Lover, Testiklos the Nut, etc. I wanted a cool name that's not as unhinged, and since then I'm known on the streets of Chicago as Gianmarco the Modest, except I gallivant about in a Mazda, not a chariot, unfortunately. My question for the next part, since I'm Pescarese in my origins, naturally Pescara is my second team after Milan. Today we sit in relegation spot in Serie B. Do you think Pescara will ever see another Zemanlandia era in our lifetime? Please lie to me and say yes, we will. I'll stop here not to make this too long."
Brilliant.
Oh dear. I think Pescara, I mean, it's like, I hope so. I mean, it's always fun when these provincial sides make a cameo in the top flight, isn't it? But the way that they played in the Serie B under Zeman, that season was insane. I remember watching them. They were like the Insigne brothers. You had Verratti, you had Immobile. They would just destroy teams. like mopped the floor with them from the get-go. It was just non-stop, week in, week out. And what I think is the biggest regret I have is that he left to return to Roma. I wish he would have stayed with Pescara when they went back up to the Serie A. I would have loved to see them there. But then, of course, they sold Verratti and they sold Ciro. Was, all these players left. But yeah, it would have been cool to see them.
Yeah, agreed.
He stayed. But yeah, I hope they don't get relegated to Serie C. That would be really, really sad. Be really, really sad. Right, next question, or the final question. Now that you've had a time to think about it.
Yeah, I've come up with a great team for this.
Okay.
And we're going to do this I'm going to put this on social as well. This is a really great question. I love this, and I've spent the last 5 minutes just researching it just to make sure that I hope I haven't missed anyone out. But yeah.
Okay, so David says, question for the pod, a bit of a broad question. But could you do a starting 11 of Italian players that got no caps or limited caps for Italy that you believe deserved more? This could be down to injuries, out of favor with the manager, or because there was too much competition in their role, i.e. Di Canio. Also, have you heard about Juan Sebastian Veron being banned for 6 months from all football-related activities by the Argentina FA after doing the guard of honor backwards versus Rosario? A bit mental, if you ask me. Thank you and keep up the great work. So
insane. Yeah, the Veron thing was insane. I don't know if you've seen that. Like they all the players just turned their backs during the guard of honor, so that the opposition team had won the league just walked through them with their backs turned. And he got 6-month ban for that? I mean, is this insane? This sounds like the Argentine version of Serie A's blasphemy law. Like what? In 2025 you get a 6-month ban for this. I mean, there must be more to it surely than that. I saw that story and I thought I was actually going to put it in the Serie A actually, and I forgot to do it. Like, just sounds absolutely batshit.
Yeah, I saw that too, and it's no comment. Right, so who's your 11? And I can't believe you've done with a back three.
I've done this as the best ever Italy 11 of uncapped players. Okay, so these are players that never played for Italy, and I've gone for sort of a 3-4-1-2 formation, although some of the players are slightly out of position. So in goal, I've gone for Sebastiano Rossi, of course, part of the amazing AC Milan team under Fabio Capello, who won everything, penalty specialist. Then 3 men centre backs. I've gone Sergio Brio, who was part of Juventus's dominant team of the 1980s with Trapattoni. Gianluca Signorini, who is a symbol of Genoa. He was part of that famous Genoa team who beat Liverpool at Anfield in 1992. He was their captain. Very sad story. He's a player who lost his life very early due to ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. Horrible, horrible disease that a lot of footballers, especially Italian footballers, have been getting. And then also in defence, I've got Alessandro Renica, who was a great defender for Sampdoria in the 80s, and then moved on to Napoli, where he won two Scudetti with Napoli under Maradona. He was a sweeper. I also played at fullback. Then in midfield, I have, in the centre of midfield, I've got Angelo Colombo, who was part of the all-conquering Arrigo Sacchi Milan team of the 1980s, who won two European Cups. I've got Agostino Di Bartolomei, who was the captain and the regista playmaker of that amazing Roma team, who won the Scudetto and got to the final of the European Cup. Also, very tragically cut short by suicide on the 10th anniversary of that European Cup final defeat on my 10th birthday, I should add. I remember it very well. And also Evaristo Beccalossi, who was an amazing player for Inter, kind of like early 1980s. Incredibly, never played for Italy. Benito Carboni also played for Inter, but was fantastic in Britain for Celtic. No, was he Celtic? No, that was Di Canio was at Celtic.
Bradford.
Was Benito Carboni at Celtic, or am I completely making that up?
I think he was wasn't he in Bradford?
No, he was at Sheffield Wednesday in Bradford. But why am I thinking Benito Carboni at Celtic? Di Canio at Celtic. This is going to bug me now. Am I completely going mad? He didn't play for Celtic. He played for Sheffield. No, he played for Sheffield Wednesday with Di Canio.
Yeah. West Ham as well, Di Canio, no?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Di Canio, yeah. So Benito Carboni used to score. He was a scorer of great goals. Carboni.
There's a famous chant that Napoli fans used to sing: first Maradona, then Gianfranco Zola, now Benny Carbone.
Okay, that was a little bit exaggerated. Yeah. And the number 10. There's quite a few number 10s in this team. Paolo Di Canio. I mean, this was a guy who, for a while, was actually the best player in the Premier League. And he never played for Italy, which is absolutely insane. And obviously, Sheffield Wednesday, Celtic, but at West Ham, absolute legend. In my opinion, Di Canio scored the greatest ever goal in Premier League history. That kind of scissor volley that he did was just mad. And then in attack, I've got Pietro Paolo Virdis, who was a fantastic striker, played for a number of clubs, Juventus, won Scudetti there. Sacchi's Milan. He was the top scorer, the capocannoniere, the season of Berlusconi and Sacchi's first Milan Scudetto. He was top scorer in that team. And alongside him, I've got Maurizio Gans, who scored a lot of goals in Serie A, including for Inter. What do you think of that? For a team of uncapped players, that's still some team, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a fantastic team. The only player I would say...
Today. Probably beat us today.
Yeah. And I mean, Lorenzo Amoruso, who we had on the pod and was really annoyed that he didn't even get one cap for Italy. I thought he was really good as well. That's a player with a shout. But yeah, I mean, your lineup is unbelievable.
Yeah, there's others. There's other players that I haven't included that I'm sure. I mean, even if you're just talking about the goalkeepers, there's Carlo Cudicini. He was Chelsea number 1 for a while and was really, really good. Francesco Antonioli, I'm not sure if he ever won a cap. He was let me just check that. He was in the Italy squad for...
Yeah, like Sebastiano Rossi.
He was in the Italy squad, I think, for Euro 2000. I'm not sure if he actually ever played for Italy. No, he didn't.
No.
He didn't.
Mental.
Yeah.
Went from that to... Should Gabbia play?
Yeah, exactly. Like that question we got last week, wasn't it? We were listed off a load of players saying, should Italy maybe think of calling up these players instead? And you look at the list and you just get depressed, don't you? It was like, who was in that list? It was yeah. Oh, Galli. I could have maybe included Galli.
Yeah, Galli.
In defense. He was Filippo Galli. He was at Milan. He was amazing. Yeah, could have had him. Policano at left back. Roberto Muzzi. Do you remember him in attack?
I remember Muzzi.
Paolo Poggi. I'm just looking now.
Did Igor Protti ever play for Italy?
I don't think he did. No. Dario Hubner.
Yeah, but he was more, but he was more.
Yeah,
no, he never did play. Yeah, Protti never played for Italy. Yeah. Fabrizio Miccoli played for Italy, no?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, pretty sure he did. Yeah, he did. Yeah, it's, yeah. Yeah, he had 10 caps, Miccoli. 2 goals even. And of course, Lucarelli, who harsh tongues say was picked by Italy just so that he couldn't play for Cuba, which is a country he wanted to play for because of political reasons. But he
couldn't have played for Cuba, though, could he?
Well, he could. He could have become a naturalized. He had no caps for for Italy.
But he would have had to go and live there for a while, wouldn't he?
Yeah, which is what he was. There were rumors at the time that he wanted to do that. He played 6 games for Italy, scored 3 goals. Lucarelli. And there's these evil tongues that say that he was only picked those times so that he couldn't play for Cuba because he wanted to play for Cuba. He was talking about it and so on. But yeah, it's that's an interest. That's a good team. That's a bloody good team. I mean, Di Bartolomei and Beccalossi. I mean, Jesus.
The big ones are definitely Di Bartolomei, Beccalossi, and Di Canio. The fact that they never played for Italy, those 3 in particular, when they were like, in today's generation, we'd be probably talking about them being the best, like maybe the best player in Italy, like potentially the best or one of the best players for Italy today. We'd be talking about
without a doubt. I mean, Beccalossi in particular is, and Di Bartolomei, of course. I mean, yeah, it's and of course, speaking of health issues, Beccalossi I was going to interview him, and I can say that now, but we had to cancel it because he stopped replying, and then we heard that he had suffered a brain hemorrhage. Now he's recovering, so we wish him continued recovery. But yeah, it's it's mad. That lineup is insane. Like, it's just crazy. And there are others as well, as we mentioned. But yeah. Right, those are all the questions you guys had sent in this week. Please do remember to keep sending in your questions via DM on Patreon. This will come out. I think we'll push this out on Thursday, or was it pushing this out on Tuesday? I don't know. We'll see what we do. I think we'll be pushing it out on Thursday because this is a non-Champions League week. So this will probably go out on Thursday. Yeah.
If we get the Brad Friedel interview, that is.
Yeah, well, we interviewed, and we haven't received the raw files yet, so we can say that we did interview former US men's national team player Brad Friedel. We're waiting on the raw video for that, so we can edit it. And
the plan was to push out Brad Friedel on Wednesday if we get the recording, and then the Q&A on Thursday.
So we don't know. We haven't received the raw file yet from the guy from the online event where we interviewed him. So we'll have to wait and see for that. But yeah, that we did do that, and Carlo's camera didn't work, so it'll be available in full on audio, but on video, because Carlo's camera didn't work, is going to be like the questions are just going to be like in the imagery, because he was just there on audio. Right. That's it. Send in questions. Take care of yourself. We'll be back later in the week. We'll be doing a reaction to the World Cup draw. This will be out on Thursday. We'll be back next week on Monday. And of course, Q&A and much, much more. And Brad Friedel interview whenever that's ready. So until next time, like I said, keep sending in your questions Sunday night latest via DM on Patreon. So until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Ciao, ciao.